Election 2024 is over. America has voted, and both sexism and racism have won the day. On Liberal Dan Radio, we will hold everyone accountable, from the media that failed to report the threat that Trump poses to this nation, to the people who supported him. We will pick up the mantle to educate the people about his actions, from being dictator on day one, pardoning January 6th domestic terrorists, implementing Project 2025, and any other draconian measures he tries to pass. And now, the resistance begins. Welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. To join the conversation later, if we open up the phone lines, depending how I feel, will be 562-542-3261 or 562-LIBDAN1. That will be when the phone lines are open. I guess to say if the phone lines are open, because, you know, I've been rather exhausted recently. And so I kind of, even though I ended the show early on Monday, it still took me about at least an hour and a half to get all of the clips edited and uploaded and everything and put into the show so it could be aired on, you know, so people could start seeing it on Tuesday. So still had lots of work to do after last show. Last night, my Nerdy Dan stream was not that great. I'm not having much confidence in Twitch today either. I don't know if it was just a my account thing or if it was a Twitch account thing there or if something else is going on. But if you're watching on Twitch and, well, you know, and for some reason it goes out, I'm not restarting the show. We'll just come on over to YouTube if that happens. Aaron has been a 15-month subscriber over on Twitch, so thank you very much, Aaron. And because Aaron's sound is the air horn, I do have that now too, to celebrate all things Aaron. And of course, because Jolie likes turtles and Big Hook calls her Turtle Toes, I finally was remember to download
I like turtles
for Jolie as well. So now our mods have their sounds as well. So but thank you so much, Dean, for the super chat. I guess you were having some issues super chatting, but now your super chatting is fixed, I suppose. So let's see, shouts out to everybody in the chat currently. We got Jolie and Aaron who were first and second. I got Jeff from just north of Uranus, Steve from across the pond.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
Progressively Independent, Jackie Alton from Paradise, Texas. Can you see Paradise by your dashboard light? Of course, there is a Paradis, Louisiana, which doesn't have the E at the end, but instead of being Paradis, it's Paradis. And, well, you know, I don't know if you can see that by the dashboard light either. So, let's see. We got Jackie, Roxanne, Dean. Did I say Progressively Independent? Well, if I did it again. Do it again. Dawn. Let's see if I'm missing Big Hook. We got Big Hook in the chat as well. Easy E. And I think I've nailed everybody so far, but thank you all for joining. Thank you all for participating. Thank you all for smashing that like button and then the patriarchy. And Jolie's over there on Twitch as well. Hey, Jolie. Apparently it's been a rough go of it, understaffed at work, feeling sick. So take care of yourself. Your self-care is most important for everybody, especially the mod squad. So just make sure that don't overexert. So Easy E, we were on Boston Brian. I hope you didn't hurt him. I'd probably hurt more if I was on him, but you know, it is what it is. I did decide to be nice the other day before my show. I think last week's show I did buy a couple of people some Boston Brian memberships or whatever, just to make sure that, you know, share the wealth all around. Although I don't know if what I have is accurately described as wealth yet, but again, got to support all the people, you know, all of the left, progressive, liberal type folks who are out there fighting the good fight, which, you know, all y'all do. We just need to get more people doing so as well, because that's the only way. Not on the top, we were on bottom. That sounds like another person's comment.
Oh my!
But it deserves an oh my just the same. Anyway, so got a few minutes before I guess we can get to the hypocrite of the week. Is kind of like a duopoly of hypocrisy. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, because there's kind of two things that I couldn't pick between the two. It's kind of like Sophie's choice. Do I pick column A? Do I pick column B? I'm just pick both. Why not? Right? There we go. There's Impeccable Living. Deserves another.
Oh my!
Right there. I do think Eazy-E that being on the bottom is Impeccable Living's preferred location. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Impeccable Living, but there you go. Just realized something about Uranus I hadn't picked up on. After you get your fudge, you use the back door. That makes perfect sense that you would use the back door to retrieve the fudge from Uranus. What is the front door used for, Jeff? I haven't been there, so I don't quite know all the ins and outs of Uranus to know whether or not what to expect if I were to happen to make the voyage up to Uranus to, devour the fudge up there. That store is constantly liking my comments when I throw in. I was like, I think one of my favorite comments that I made on their Facebook page was, I don't know if you're the best fudge in the world, but I know you're at least number 2. So there you go. I should say you're at least number 2. There you go. I have to throw in the yeah pun, the CSI Miami. Let's see. Fudge eater, not a fudge packer. I do have a packing in the chocolate story. I think I've told that on the show before. If you go to, or at least when you went to the Food and Wine Festival at Disney's Epcot, you can, there was a Ghirardelli booth, and Ghirardelli has those little squares of chocolates, and so you could buy a tin, like this little bronze looking tin, like maybe about this big, around or whatever, maybe this thick, decent sized tin or whatever. And so as long as it's sealed, as long as you could close the tin, it didn't have to be a tight seal. Thank you for the super sticker, Aaron. As long as it wasn't, as long as it didn't like flop open, you could pack in as much chocolate as you wanted to. And it was me and Cassie. We were there, and there was this other couple that were there, and those two guys and us two were just kind of comparing notes, having fun, packing in all the chocolate we could. At the end of the day, I think I shoved in about a couple more pieces of chocolate than they did. So when it came to packing in the chocolate, I was the best of both couples. So there you go. It was kind of a funny story that pops up every now and then in my fall memories on Facebook. So yeah. So apparently I'm pretty good at packing in the chocolate or the fudge or what have you. So, it is what it is. Wait, I'm sorry.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Anyway, so that probably deserves a...
Oh my.
Hey, Erbil, it'll be good to see you. Thank you for joining us in over on the Twitch chat as well. Let's see. I'm hoping to... coordinating with Andrea. I'm hoping to be able to get... Philip Midner back on the show soon. I'm hoping to get Hal back on the show. So easy for me to say, back on the show soon. I have something new that I want to do when it comes to if I do get to interview more famous people who are much more well known, where I just want to kind of do like a 3 questions type thing where I ask. And the questions are kind of like, there's not just simple yes or no. This is like, one of them is like, kind of a 2-parter, so you could consider it 2 questions, but I'm still considering it 1. I'm not spoiling the questions yet, which I would ask Hal or anybody else who might have on the show. But, if you have a clever name, hey CR, good to see you. If you have a clever name that you might want to think of for Liberal Dan Asks 3 Questions or something like that, shoot me an email, send me a text. Text me on the Liberal Dan Radio number, 562-542-3261. Jolie, best fudge packer award for me. Thank you so much. Y'all really believed in me. I could not have done this without the help of I couldn't have packed in all the fudge without the help of my wife, the Ghirardelli company, and those other 2 gentlemen. Without them, I would have not been as good at packing in the fudge. So, anyway. So, Or did have to do that? You like me. You really like me. That sort of thing. So I always had some response that gets reaction from them and lots of customers. Problem is, how I would hope, though, Jeff, that the folks at the Uranus Fudge Factory, I would hope that they would keep their back door as just about as clean as they keep their front door, right? What if you came in the front door and then you have to then make your way out the back door? But what if you were parked up front? Do you have to walk all the way around, or how does that work? What are the logistics of getting in and out of the entrances of Uranus? So anyway, I could go on for I am a 13-year-old child at heart, I guess. There's enough childish humor in there to just I could keep going for a very long time with that. So say, hey Robert, good to see you. Thanks for joining the chat. Thanks for joining the show. Let's see. But yeah, if you don't follow they don't sponsor the show. I would love for them to sponsor the show. I doubt they will. But if you don't look at if you're on Facebook and you don't look at the Uranus Fudge Factory Facebook page, you're missing out. Lots of humor, tomfoolery, and other shenanigans that go on. So, see, is the fudge any good? Would you bury your face in that fudge there, Jeff? Sorry. Anyway, I'm having too much fun with this. So let's go ahead. We will go ahead and let's go ahead and play the this week's Hypocrite of the Week. It is a 2-for hypocrites, 2 for Tuesday, or 2 for Wednesday, whatever it is. I don't know what we should call it if it's a Wednesday, because it's not a 2-for. A wee hypocritical. Aaron, I don't know if I want to go to Uranus with Dan. Why? Just too many puns, or why? What would be the I would think it would be fun to join me on a trip to Uranus. Anyway, come with me and you'll be in a world of OSHA violations. Anyway, anyway, let's go ahead and play this. I don't have the whatchamacallit. I should download that real quick first, because let's see. Let's just go ahead and I do need to change the date on that one, because why not? And change the date on the title, and we will save again. I should have thought about this beforehand, but again, I am tired and exhausted and forgetting. I've been very forgetful. So we need to change this to this. There we go, the right date. Then we can start recording and playing the Hypocrite of the Week. This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Donald Trump, with Tulsi Gabbard being a close second. Trump mocked a reporter with a disability, but now he's mad that Congresswoman Crockett made a comment that could have insulted Governor Abbott's disability. The Donald and the Tulsi both made huge deals over the importance of our national security, but both are now liars since the Signal text chain was leaked and no heads are rolling. Do as I say, not as I do, makes you a hypocrite through and through. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in live Mondays and Wednesdays here at 8 p.m. Central on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio for more talk from the left. That's right. And there we go. This week's Hypocrite of the Week. Let's see. I'm trying to find this darn thing. There we go. There it is. All right, stop. I don't know why this is showing. Why this is showing that. Anyway, oh, darn it. Did it again. Oops, I did it again. See, imagine being upset about making fun of a crippled man while Trump made fun of John McCain for POW. Yeah, I mean, oh, I'm still recording that. Let's stop that recording and we'll start recording again. Yeah, imagine being upset about making fun of a crippled man while Trump made fun of John McCain for POW. I mean, Trump made fun of a person with a disability as well. Remember the reporter? Remember he was doing this motions with his hands that were clearly mocking a reporter, yet Jasmine Crockett, when she made her Hot Wheels comment, no, I can't look into the soul of Jasmine Crockett. I can't look into her soul. I mean, I could because she has one, as opposed to Trump and people in administration who are completely soulless. That being said, I can't look into her soul and know whether or not she really meant to call him the Hot Wheels governor because of all of the deportations that he did or whatever, or if she just, was being mean about him being a hypocrite but by having a disability yet fighting against like things like DEI, because the equity in DEI includes things like making sure like that things are ADA compliant and other things that might not have to do with the ADA but still help people have equity and give them the abilities to do the jobs. But again, conservatives don't understand what DEI means, even when they say out they're against diversity, equity, inclusion, like Trump did during his Pettysburg address. But again, I can't say what was in her heart. I can't say if that was her original intent or not. What I will say is I don't give a rat's ass as to what her original intent is when it comes to that, because I don't want to hear a damn peep out of any Trump supporter, out of any MAGA person who refused to go after Donald Trump, who refused to say that Donald Trump was mocking a reporter, clearly when the reporter has a condition that where his hands do the thing that Trump was doing in a mocking way. And they refuse to suggest that he could have done something wrong. He mocks other people without disabilities by doing that too. Like that makes it any better, because doing those things with your hands is something that people would often do to mock persons with disabilities. So it doesn't matter if he also made fun of persons without disabilities doing that, because it's still mocking disabilities doing that. But they didn't want to hear it. They didn't want to admit that their Messiah was somehow flawed in any way. And so they just made excuses for him instead of saying, you know what, that was wrong. So if they were unwilling to call Donald Trump out for his mocking of somebody with a disability, then I'm not going to sit here and take them with any bit of seriousness when it comes to them criticizing Representative Crockett for her comments about Governor Abbott. They have no moral high ground to stand from. In fact, they're coming from the immoral low ground. That's where they're coming from. And I'm not going to sit here and worry about Crockett with that, or Crockett, insulting, Elon Musk, because as a Bondi now says that she wants to go after Jasmine Crockett for, saying mean things about Musk. Oh no, boo-hoo. That's another thing I don't want to hear anything about when it comes to conservatives. I don't want to hear anything about the people who are firebombing Teslas. I don't want to hear anything about them whatsoever if you did something like call the people who were there on January 6th tourists. If the people who attacked cops were just tourists, if the people who broke things were just tourists, if the people who bashed down barricades, assaulted cops with their own weapons, or did the various other violent things that they did on January 6th were just tourists, then guess what? So were the people they were just window shopping. They were just looking at the Teslas. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just looking at the Teslas, trying to figure out whether or not they were a good deal. And I guess when they got caught on fire, there was like, you know what? I'm not going to buy a vehicle that spontaneously combusts, so let me just, look at something else. Do I justify the destruction of do I destroy do I say that we should be destroying other people's property? No. But again, I'm not going to sit here and bemoan the people doing that when it's the conservatives complaining about that, being a simp for Musk, when they refused to, say the people who were terrorists and insurrectionists on January 6th, they refused to say that. So you know what? F you on that as well. I don't want to hear it. I'm tired of hearing it. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I understand that hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite, but they like to flip around the whataboutisms all the time. Well, guess what? I think it's some time that we shove the whataboutisms back in their face. What about, all these people firebombing Texas? What about the people on J6? All these people are, oh, Jasmine Crockett said mean things about Governor Abbott. Oh, what about the when Trump mocked the disabled person? What about when Trump mocked McCain for being a prisoner of war? All that stuff. I don't give a rat's ass about all that they're complaining about if they're not going to take responsibility and criticize their own. Period. End of story. Does that mean that I won't criticize our own when I feel that they've done wrong? Sure, I will, and I've done so on the show many a times. But I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here, and I'm not going to just give in to them bitching and moaning and complaining about us when they won't do it about themselves. What do you think? Do you think Jasmine Crockett should be criticized, or do you agree with me that we're not going to be playing the conservative games when, if the roles were reversed, they would be whining and bitching and moaning, complaining as well when it came to our people, but when it's their people, they'd be making excuses and whataboutisms and deflecting to the other people. So, if you agree with me, leave your comments down below. If you disagree with me for whatever reason, leave your comments down below as well. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, and of course, unless you're a Nazi, have a good day. That was video 1 of me recording. Let's see. A Big Hook insurance company refusing to insure Teslas. That is the find out phase if I ever saw it. I love the fact that the insurance companies are not insuring Teslas, that people are scrambling to return them before they have to start paying increased ridiculous rates because people are going out and just firebombing them. It's the same thing for a while like Kia Souls. Like, I could not get insurance via Allstate, I think it was. Was it Allstate? Either I couldn't get insurance with Allstate, or there was something else where when we were picking up my mother-in-law's vehicle and putting that on our policy, Allstate Allstate either wouldn't do it. No, I think Allstate was too high. Allstate went to like $700 a month, which is ridiculous because we didn't drive anymore with 3 cars than we would with 2. But it was another company. When Allstate went up to like 700 something bucks a month, I think I went to either State Farm or AAA or some other type of insurer before I landed back on Geico, and they would not insure the Kia Soul because of the issues with all the TikTok hacks or whatever. So it's not even that the prices were going up. I couldn't get insurance for it. Now, Geico did, thank goodness, and we keep a club on the car now, so it's much more difficult to steal, and we keep it closer to the cameras, so people are less likely to want to steal it. So, there you go. Hey, Kevin, good to see you. Hey, Scott, as well. Good to see you, too. Thank you for joining in the show. So, let's see. But we're going to start recording again because I didn't want to make the 2 videos too long or whatever. But we do have another video to discuss, or another video to make. We all know, without a shadow of a doubt, we all know that if this Signal text message chain occurred during the Biden administration, that these conservatives wouldn't be being like, oh, well, the mission still went off without a hitch, so there was no harm, no foul. They keep trying to spin it to say, oh, there was no harm. If we tried to do the no harm, no foul game, if it was a Joe Biden thing, guess what? They would be, reading the riot. In fact, they did. They did react to that in one particular incident when it was shown that President Biden had taken classified documents and had it in his, garage or whatever on his property in Delaware. It didn't matter that Biden didn't do anything else. They were calling for his head. They were like, well, why isn't he under arrest or whatever? Same reason why Pence wasn't under arrest, or the same reason why Pence wouldn't be prosecuted for these things, because if you're found to have classified documents and you requested to return them, and if they punished you for returning them all, then people wouldn't just simply return them. That's why that happens that way. Right? But if there was anything else on top of that, like, then they might have been prosecuted after the fact, I guess. with the case because you can't prosecute a sitting president for whatever reason. So it wasn't like, Biden was asked to return the documents and only returned half the documents and had his own attorneys lie on his behalf, saying that they returned all of them and it was only half of them, like Trump did with the Mar-a-Lago documents. It's not like Biden was on tape showing documents to people and telling them when he wasn't president, hey, this could have been declassified, but it wasn't, but I'm still going to show it to you anyway, even though I shouldn't be able to do it. There's no audio of that happening, like what happened with Donald Trump. But that's not the point here. The point with this one is that when we said with Joe Biden and the documents that were at his house, they said, doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter that there was no harm, no foul, nobody was injured because of it. What matters is the process. But then once we start trying to tell them, the conservatives, about the process, they don't want to hear anything about it. Now it's, this mission went off without a hitch. There was no problem. Well, there's lots of major problems with this. Because again, this isn't just a simple matter of, keeping documents that you shouldn't have kept them and then nobody else seeing them. This is war plans, battle plans, whatever you want to call it, however they want to label the plans. If Russia or some one of our enemies would have gotten wind of this, Iran, they would have happened to got wind of this text message group, and if they would have, said, this is when the attacks are coming, they could have moved things around and the attacks would have been a failure. Because there's no operational security when it comes to what they're doing here, because it might be encrypted end to end, but once it gets to the person's individual private phone, what protection is there? You're not even supposed to look at this sort of information on any sort of phone. Oh, no harm, no foul. It's the fact that you're operating in a irresponsible way is the risk of harm. It's just like the same thing if I drove drunk and if I had a super high, more than the legal limit blood alcohol content, but I made it home okay. Let's say I drove all the way home and I kind of swerved into my driveway, parked the car, no accident, no nothing. But I drove drunk. Could I tell the officer? Could I tell the court? No harm, no foul. No. Because the reason that the rule exists for no drunk driving is because of the threat that can be caused if you do it. Too many times, somebody's going to get hurt on average. So if you don't have our national secrets held, secure, if you're not mindful of them and who gets to see them, then it doesn't matter if in this circumstance it went to somebody who shouldn't have seen it and they did the right thing, I guess, until after the attack when it was over. It doesn't matter, because at some point, if you continue to operate within this lax way that you're operating, Trump administration, somebody is going to get harmed. And that's why we have these laws that are in effect. That's why these laws are the way that they are. So, let's take a look-see, shall we, at the Houthi PC small group, 19 members. Now, this is from the reporter, Mr. Goldberg. And this is from the, the reporter, Mr. Goldberg, is the one who got answered. Michael Walls added you to the group. So there you go. I mean, he could say he doesn't know what happened. It happened, and it happened from him. Disappearing message time was set to 1 week, so you get to watch this thing for 1 week before, I guess, they self-destruct. Michael Waltz, team, establishing a principals group for coordination on Houthis, particularly over the next 72 hours. My deputy, Alex Wong, is putting together a Tiger team at deputy/agency chief of staff level, following up from the meeting in the sit room this morning for action items that we'll be sending out later this evening. Why didn't you handle all this in the Situation Room? That's a secure location that, wouldn't be able to have this stuff happen. Please provide the best staff POC, I guess point of contact, because they're not saying person of color, from your team for us to coordinate with over the next couple of days and over the weekend. Thanks. Mar, Mike Needham for state, JD Vance, Andy Baker for VP, TG, Tulsi Gabbard, Joe Kent for DNI. Very important because Tulsi Gabbard didn't know that she was on this text chain, but TG is Tulsi Gabbard, and she was on this text chain. Scott Beast is Dan Katz for Treasury, Pete Hegseth, Dan Caldwell for DOD, Brian McCormick for NSC. I'm guessing Brian's naming himself. I don't know. Then Michael Walls, team, you should have a statement of conclusions with taskings for the president's guidance this morning in your high side inboxes. State and DOD, we developed suggested notification lists for regional allies and partners. Joint staff is sending this AM a more specific sequence of events in the coming days, and we'll work with DOD to ensure COS, OVP, and POTUS are briefed. JD Vance, team, I'm out for the day going on an economic event in Michigan, but I think we're making a mistake. So some cracks are showing in the administration of Donald Trump. 3% of U.S. trade runs through the Suez. 40% of European trade does. There is a real risk that the public doesn't understand this, so why it's necessary. The strongest reason to do this, as POTUS said, is to send a message, but I'm not sure the president is aware how inconsistent this is with his message on Europe right now. There's a further risk that we see a moderate to severe spike in oil prices. I'm willing to support the consensus of the team and keep these concerns to myself. Ha! Too bad you didn't keep the concerns to yourself because you're on a text chain with somebody who's in the media, dumbass. But there is a strong argument for delaying this a month, doing the messaging work on why this matters, seeing where the economy is, etc. So JD Vance doesn't agree with his president. Shocked. I mean, then again, JD Vance is the one that, called Trump America's Hitler. I guess that he changed his mind on that or felt that that wasn't important. Joe Kent, there is nothing time sensitive driving the timeline. We have the exact same we'll have the same exact options in a month. The Israelis will likely take strikes and therefore ask us for more support to replenish whatever they use against the Houthis, but that's a minor factor. I will send you the unclassified data we pulled on BAM shipping. John Ratcliffe, from the CIA perspective, we are mobilizing assets to support now, but a delay would not negatively impact us. An additional time would be used to identify better starting points for coverage on Houthi leadership. So somebody actually saying, hey, it might be a good idea to wait, but nope. Pete Hegseth, VP, I understand your concerns and fully support you raising with POTUS. Important considerations, most of which are tough to know how they play out: economy, Ukraine, peace, Gaza, etc. I think messaging is going to be tough no matter what. Nobody knows who the Houthis are, which is why we would need to stay focused on, 1, Biden failed, and 2, Iran funded. So, they're always going to say Biden failed, even when he didn't fail. Waiting a few weeks or a month does not fundamentally change the calculus. 2 immediate risks on waiting. This leaks, and we look indecisive. Well, guess what? It leaked, MFers. And 2, Israel takes an action first, or Gaza ceasefire falls apart, and we don't get to start this on our own terms. We can manage both. We are prepared to execute, and if I had a final go or no go, I believe we should. This is not about Houthis. This is not about the Houthis. So the attack on the Houthis is not about the Houthis. I see this as 2 things. 1, restoring freedom of navigation, a core national interest, and reestablishing deterrence, which Biden cratered. No, he didn't. But we can easily pause, and if we do, we can do and enforce 100% OPSEC. How can you enforce 100% OPSEC? You're on a text message chain with a reporter, you dumbass. Michael Waltz, the trade figures we have are 15% of the global and 30% of container. It's difficult to break down to U.S. Specific because much of the container either going through this Red Sea still or around the Cape of Good Hope are components going to Europe that turns into manufactured goods for transatlantic trade in the United States. Whether we pull the plug or not today, European navies do not have the capability to defend against the types of sophisticated airship, cruise missiles, and drones the Houthis are now using. I find that a little bit hard to believe that that the navies of the world can't handle what the Houthis are using. But that seems a little counterintuitive to me. But, I don't know whether it's true or not. It just seems counterintuitive to me. Let's see. So whether it's set now or several weeks from now, we'll have to. It'll have to be the United States that reopens these shipping lanes. Per the president's request, we are working with DoD and state to determine how to compile the cost associated and levy them on the Europeans. So we're going to act, and then we're going to ask the Europeans to foot the bill because this has no interest of ours, right? Even though he said clearly that this is not about the Houthis, this is about other reasons. That's a good reason to kill people. Other reasons. Reestablishing dominance. What? Let's see, Michael Walls. Also, as we stated in the first PC, we have fundamental decision of allowing sea lanes to remain or to reopen them for now or later. We are the only ones with the capability, unfortunately, from the messaging standpoint. We absolutely add this AD, not ADD, this to the horribles of why Europeans must invest in their defense. Let's see, JD Vance. Pete Hegg says, if you think we should do it, let's go. I just hate bailing out Europe again. So he doesn't like helping our allies. But we all knew that our allies, the American allies, have nothing to do with the allies of this administration. The allies of this administration are Putin. And Putin's allies are Iran. So we can saber rattle all we want. We all know who this administration is caving to when the time comes. It's just I don't think the proxy of a proxy, I don't think the Russians are really going to worry about that because it keeps us busy with them and not us busy with, with what Russia's doing with Ukraine. JD Vance also, let's make sure the messaging is tight here, and if things we can do to upfront to minimize the risk to Saudi oil facilities, we should do it. Pete Hegg said, VP, I surely share your loathing of European freeloading. It's pathetic. Capital letters. This is now out for the entire world to see. Our Secretary of Defense calling the Europeans freeloaders and calling it pathetic. But Mike is correct. We're the only ones on the planet on our side of the ledger who can do this. Nobody else even close. Again, I don't know whether or not that's correct. I do know that we have the most powerful military in the world. We have the most powerful Navy in the world. And one of our carrier groups, at least from when I first heard the stat, has more firepower in it than the rest of the world's navies combined. And we have at least 6 or 7 of them going and operational any single time. So yes, our Navy is just that top notch compared to the rest of the world, to the point where our abilities make the rest of the abilities of the world's navies look like poo. That being said, I don't know if it's correct to then say that the European navies can't take out what the Houthis are using, or their blowfish. Anyway, so the question is timing. I feel like now is a good time as any, given POTUS directive to reopen shipping lanes. I think we should go. POTUS retains 24 hours of decision space. SM, as I heard it, the president was clear, green light, but we soon make clear to Egypt and Europe what we expect in return. We also need, and that's good. That's good foreign policy. Do something to benefit people, including us, and then tell the Europeans what they owe, instead of saying, hey, we'll do this for you, Europe, but we anticipate some help, and asking beforehand. That wouldn't be smart at all, right? Stupid asses. We also need to figure out how to enforce such a requirement. E.g., if Europe doesn't remunerate, then what? If the U.S. successfully restores freedom of navigation at great cost, there needs to be some further economic gain extracted in return. So I guess the whole, I want quid pro quo is no longer just with the president. He's a transactional president, and he's going to always want to do things in a transactional way. Pete Hegseth, agree. Pete Hegseth, team update, time now. 11:44 Eastern Time. Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go to mission launch. 12:15 ET F-18's launch, first strike package. 13:45 trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Blah, blah, blah. 14:10 more F-18's launch, second strike package. 14:15 or 2:15 Eastern. Strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop, pending earlier trigger-based targets. 15:36 F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launched. More to follow per timeline. We are currently clean on OPSEC. So he just sent a message to a reporter saying that we are clean on operational security. Hello. Godspeed to our warriors. I will say a prayer for victory. Let's see. VP, building collapse had multiple positive ID. Pete Kurilla of the IC, amazing job. Let's see. Is there... So that was 19 minutes before, but that doesn't say what this is or whatever. But it does really say, it's kind of hard to say when certain things were on a timing basis. So JD Vance is like, what? Michael wants, type it too fast. First target, their top missile guy. We had a positive idea of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and now it's collapsed. And now they're excited, and you know, the fact that not just that they killed the person who's their top weapons guy, but I guess they got their girlfriend too. So they're all like, yeah, fist bump, innocent civilians dead, huzzah! MAR, good job, Pete and your team. The team in MAL did a great job as well. Great work, all. Powerful start. So it's not even a continue. Pete Hegg says CENTCOM was always on point. Great job, all. More strikes ongoing for hours tonight. We'll provide full initial report tomorrow, but on time, on target, and good readout so far. Of course, that's because, you know, the one person you let this slip to and leak to actually, you know, is a loyal American citizen and is not going to put the lives of our troops at risk, even though you put the lives of our troops at risk by being so willy-nilly and insecure about these messages that were going out about what the timing of things, how the timing of things would work out. Because they could, if someone else would have gotten this, they could have moved everything out the way, and then they would have missed everything, and it would have been a waste of money, right? And who knows how many innocents they would have lost. But to them, it's all about the money, right? Tulsi Gabbard, TG, great work and effects. All right there, Tulsi. Not the brightest person. And of course, add members. So he could have added more members to this chain. He's in the chain with all the other people who were in the chain. Pete Hegseth, Dan Katz, Walter Barrett, MAR, TG, Tulsi Gabbard, JD Vance, etc. Yeah, if this would have happened under Joe Biden, they would have flipped their lids. They would have absolutely flipped a gasket. They would have just, they weren't careful with their troops. They put our troops' lives at risk, being not careful about how they messaged about this operation. They talked about operation security, but the operation wasn't secure because it was being sent on private phones, even though Signal is you know, end-to-end secure. But what happens if they actually had malware on the other phone? What then? They put our troops' lives at risk by violating the rules of the game, but they don't think the rules apply to them. They think the rules apply to everybody else. But yet there's still going to be Trump supporters who come into this video, to this live video, who are going to say, this is, you know, not wrong. Somehow there's some excuses that can be made for this administration, when you all know that you would actually come on and attack Joe Biden for doing the exact same thing. I mean, y'all were mad about the phones or whatever that were, you know, beaten apart with hammers or whatever, supposedly. Y'all were mad about the emails when it was a misdemeanor to mishandle classified information. You would probably get something like, if you saw like Pete Hegseth with something that said top secret on it and showing it to Vladimir Putin directly, the conservatives would be like, well, it wasn't classified. Well, no, it wasn't classified. It was top secret. It should have been kept secret. Oh, well, you know, that's up to Donald Trump to do anything about it. No, it's up to everybody. They took an oath to this country, and they're violating their oaths daily at this point. And if you can justify this, if you can justify anything else that this administration has been doing, you can justify anything. And when will you stop justifying? That's my point. When is too much for y'all? At what point will you draw the line and say, Donald Trump administration has really jumped the shark? There are so many sharks that have been jumped, even Fonzie lost count. When does it become too much for you, Trump supporters? I want you to let me know that in the comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe to the channel, comment on other videos as well. And of course, unless you're a Nazi or a Trump hypocrite apologist, have a good day. Let's see. Let's go. I looked this up. Wicker, RAM, and NetSphere are authorized for secure communication. Signal recommended by CISA for highly targeted officials due to end-to-end encryption, although it is not officially approved by DoD for transmitting classified information. That's according to 250 kiloohms over on Twitch. Let's see what else. I know we do have a message from Chad. There's a whole bunch of messages that I saw coming in. We will get to those in a second. Let's just scroll on back just to see what. Oh, Pamela's here. Good to see you, Pamela. Thank you for joining. See, the police were investigating incendiary devices in Austin Tesla dealership. I said, yeah, Teslas. See, that's what truck nuts are for. Nice. I don't condone on violence, but oh well, insurance will cover it. Upset Elon, convert the losses off. Hey, look. There are people that are saying that it's Elon Musk setting his own Teslas on fire because they don't want to have to deal with all the recalls about one of the paneling that's just coming off. And, so it's all an insurance scam on Elon's part to try and make sure that they could blame other people for the fact that all of this stuff has to be recalled, and then it could be covered by insurance, and then he doesn't have to pay for it. I mean, I don't know if it's true or not, but many people are saying it, so therefore, why can't we say it? That's the logic that Trump and his ilk use, right? Many people are saying it, so we might as well bring it up, right?
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Don, interesting. RE trees and insurance. I would have asked my State Farm about Tesla as they cut my comprehensive coverage for Kia. Again, Kias, are on the S end of that stick of that one. I still have to work on my why Kia sucks, and I have one more video on that I have to add to it now. You know why Kia sucks? My wife's Kia Seltos is a 2121 Kia Seltos, and the front driver's side headlight is out. So went ahead and bought a new headlight, because I can change headlights myself. I've done that before, no problem whatsoever. All I gotta do is pop the hood, go behind the lights, turn it, plug a new one back in, making sure not to touch your oily hands to the glass so it doesn't overheat the light and make it burn out even more quickly than it would otherwise. Turn it back in, done. Can you do that on a Seltos? Not that I'm aware of. On a Seltos, you actually have to turn the wheels to the right so that you have more room to get to the paneling that's between the wheels and the engine. Then you have to take off that, and then you have to then you have to unscrew something else to get the light in, and then you have to put everything back together. Yeah. It's ridiculous what I have to do to change the freaking headlight on my damn vehicle. It's to the point where wherever I bring it in to get the oil change that's due soon, I'm just going to see if they can do that too, because they're going to be down there, so why not? And see how much they're going to freaking charge me for it, because I know if it's Kia, it's going to, we're going to charge you $300 for that. Yeah, F you. See, I saw a guy with a modified Cybertruck. It was ugly AF. Well, aren't they all? I mean, isn't Cybertruck... Aren't they all just ugly AF? Let's see. Civic got stolen. They found it at Chop Shop 3 years later. What? Damn. I hope they didn't wait 3 years to pay you for the comprehensive or whatever, or for the theft of the vehicle, right? Let's see. So does most secure cars. Fob and key has chip necessary for computer to recognize. It's good to know. My son tried to break my keys because he didn't catch it when I threw it at him. Just to open the door, and then he tried to put the thing back together, not realizing that he actually didn't have the electronics part of it, so I had to fix the key, but I got it working again. So let's see, Chad, this whole signal thing is not a good look. Someone should be fired, in my opinion. But they're not gonna. They would demand someone be fired. They would demand that Biden be impeached for that, but no one's going to get fired for this, in my opinion, because they would have to then admit that they were wrong. And even though Waltz or whatever said that it was his fault for adding, I guess, him to the signal chain, how many other examples of this happened without us knowing about it? The only reason we know about this one is because some reporter got added onto the text chain. How many other chains are there? But one of the reasons for this is, they're using Signal because they know they want to keep it off of the federal phones because they don't want a record of what they're saying. Even though you can't subpoena anything of that's communication within the administration because the Supreme Court said all administration communication is privileged. So you can't subpoena it. That being said, they don't want anything to be on a document or on some sort of federal, database, whatever, wherever they might store the information of the stored text messages. They don't want to have to keep it anywhere, so that's why they're using Signal, so it deletes it. That's why they're not putting it on their federal phones, even though they're supposed to, because they're supposed to be a record of everything they do. But they don't want records of everything they do because why? They're criminals, they're crooks. They want to hide everything to hide their bad behavior. So let's see. One Vision, good to see you, One Vision. Thank you for joining. Good to see you. Let's see. Steve, has spring sprung in Scotland again? It might not have sprung in Scotland, but it might have sprung in Ireland, because there's always good Irish spring. Anyway, let's see. We rated Sons of Liberty, and I recounted one of Brian's last shows where he called Trump Saggy McNuggets again, and like he called on our show, and I was like, what? I don't know what that... I must have missed something. So Houthis aren't all powerful. They do have serious surface air missile capabilities, though. Possible. See, arrogant, corrupted, incompetent is no way to go through life. Dean Wormer, exactly. Jeff was at a weed store. A Hang Your Hate shirt was on. Lady says she loves them. Heard the singers from this area. Said I heard that too. I handed her my ID. She laughs as well. I guess you know him very well. That's awesome. That is kind of funny. It's always good to have, people be like, oh, I recognize you're very talented, whatever. Yeah, Dean, Operation Blowfish. Yeah. I only want to bomb on you. Don't leak this to the press. Oops. I only want to bomb on you. So the Republican Party stands now that Signal scandal is blowing up. Yeah, the Houthis. Yeah, who? The wifeys? The where-thies? Good to see you, Robin. Let's see. Return to office policy doesn't apply to these dum-dums. Nope, apparently not. Cease hostilities, that's a Hooters. That would be hysterical. They're trying to bomb the Houthis, but they bombed the Hooters instead. That would be hilarious. So I'm only on one group chat. It's called the Bitches. Wait, I missed that. Scrolled too much. The Bitches, just me and my kids. Nice. New band name, The Ifs. See, they don't care about people who suffer. They just care about getting the cut of the money. Exactly. They flip lids over ice cream. This would make their little minds just explode. Yep. Chad, you're the exception, then not the rule. The exception proves the rule, right? But you're one. I heard on that idiot talk show this morning. I didn't call in, but I heard them talking about, the fact that this is the Democrats are going to make a big deal out of it, and they're just like, well, why are they complaining? Democrats have no plan. Then just spin it around on them. And what about Biden? That's what they do. But if this was Biden, they would be responding in a completely different way. And that's why hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite. Because look, if the Biden administration did something like this, I'd be critical of them for it. Because this is stupid. But that's the difference between us and them. We will go after our own. Sometimes we go after our own too much. Look, I have no problem calling out Schumer for being a dickbag and selling us down the river for, only giving us 2 false options. That's why we lose, because we cave to these Republican thugs and bullies. But sometimes we attack our own too much, Al Franken being one example. There's no reason Al Franken should have been kicked out of Congress. But we wanted to do the good thing or whatever, and if there was any hint of impropriety, we were going to kill our own. But they don't do that for their own. They make excuses for their own. So we need to make sure that the people we go after really are worthy of being gone after. So I'm not going to sit here and speculate as to what Jasmine Crockett's true intent was. Because if they can do it, I don't want to hear it from them when someone on our side potentially does it. I'm not even convinced that was her intent. But even if it was, Don't come crying to me after you frickin' mocked a disabled reporter. To Republicans, you were hiding something because you were following national security measures when disposing of your devices. The hypocrisy is so bad. Yep. They should have written a jump the shark into the Waterboy theme. Yes, absolutely. See, we weren't allowed to tell our own families shit on deployment. Yep, and they told a reporter. I wonder who he really meant to add if it wasn't him. Like, have they said who they meant to add? Because I don't know. Doesn't matter because they done screwed up. If they wouldn't have been doing this improperly, then they wouldn't have screwed up. Let's see. Chad Bostic, Cybertrucks aren't on the lot. They are pre-order only, and if what they are being recalled for is panels. But still, other Teslas are being firebombed too. So again, if it's who's to say it's not just Musk doing an insurance claim? Many people are saying it, so it must be true, because that's Donald Trump logic, right? One Vision, loose lip sync ships is not just a saying. Exactly. I brought that up on some other conversation earlier today on Facebook. It was like, apparently loose lips sink ships with an asterisk. And it was like, unless it's a Republican who's president, then make excuses for their bad behavior. But if it's a Democrat, loose ships sink ships, right? Have you seen the pilot's wife? She's really mad. I would not be surprised if she was really mad. If it was my loved one who was doing an operation that was their lives were at risk, and they put my loved one's lives at risk because they're doing things in the way they're not supposed to be done, I'd be pissed off too. And I'd be calling for heads to roll. See, they look like that aluminum lunchbox with a thermos inside. They look like 90s Tomb Raider graphics. Although you can still drive one in Fortnite. So when me and my friend Ari play Fortnite, he likes me to jump into an SUV and turn it into a Tesla Cybertruck so that we can just blow it up and keep blowing it up over and over and over again, because it's fun. So Chad, Signal was approved and implemented during the Biden admin, to be fair. But even if that was true, the issue is the fact that they added somebody who shouldn't have been in the loop into the loop, and that puts everybody at risk. And again, if Biden would have done this, they'd have freaked out. If this would happen to the Biden administration, where some member of the media got all of the details of what was going to happen, they'd have flipped their lids. The federal office in charge of ensuring cybersecurity at all levels cited the use of encrypted messaging app as Signal as a, quote, best practice for highly targeted government officials in the Biden era, document shows. But highly targeted government officials doesn't necessarily mean all of the people that were on this list, right? Fox News Digital found cybersecurity infiltration. CISA outlined a guide for federal employees last year. Encrypted messaging platforms such as Signal better protected officials against foreign enemy hackers amid Chinese linked cyber breach. CISA is in a branch under the Department of Homeland Security umbrella. Of course, now we're not looking at that many cybersecurity threats, right? It's the Trump administration's idea that we should all be responsible for our own security. We should take our cybersecurity into our own hands. That's what the Trump administration executive order said, at least, that should be our responsibility, and it should be distributed down to the states. It should be a state thing, and because I'm sure the state of Wyoming has really good capabilities of fighting cyber terrorism. Makes total sense, right? See, the document specifically addressed high targeted politicos and officials, though it noted the guide was applicable to audiences. CISA strongly urges the highly targeted individuals to immediately review and apply the best practices below to protect mobile communications. Highly targeted individuals should assume that all communications between mobile devices, internet service are at risk of interception or manipulation, while no single solution eliminates all risks. Implementing these is best practice. So for dealing with end-to-end communications, it may very well be right. And I said that earlier on in the show, that end-to-end communications, those are encrypted. Problem is that you have to make sure that the phone itself is not already, vulnerable to foreign actors. And if it is, then it doesn't matter how you encrypt your communications from end to end if at the end point there's a sieve or a spigot that just sends all the information back out somewhere else. So let's see. Houthi and the Blowfish, yeah. Well, I got bombed in a Hooters. I am, and again, mocked McCain for being a POW. Yep. Again, everybody should be reminding everybody else of the mocking. But again, I don't necessarily, I mean, I think McCain did have, I guess, a disability after being held hostage and being a prisoner of war. He did have the issue with his hand. He couldn't raise his hands very high or whatever. So, but I mean, the mocking that Trump did, I don't think it was because of the disability he obtained from being a prisoner of war. He just mocked him for getting captured. So in reality, I don't necessarily think the POW line, while still should be remembered just to show everybody how much of a piece of shit Donald Trump is, it's not the best example to describe, the whole Crockett thing versus the whole, what with Abbott and the whole, Trump thing with the other reporter. So let's see. I miss Al. He would have been perfect hammering questions. Those idiots. Exactly. So did Biden approve Signal for top secret documents and war plans ever? I don't know. See, that's the thing. Communication end to end is fine, but I don't know if they actually said exactly what could be texted over Signal and what shouldn't be. And I'm pretty sure that, plans as to how you're going to attack any enemy would be seen as something that shouldn't be sent in a messaging app. It should be done on a secure lines of communication, period, and not done on your private phones. And no government work should be done on a private phone either. See, LOL children, gather around. We have memories to share. Remember in my day when government, didn't do things that, put us at risk of Russian hackers? Pepperidge Farm remembers. So I'd never even heard of Signal. I mean, I'd heard of Signal as well, but, the biggest thing, even if it was a perfect solution for people in government communicating with other people in government about sensitive and classified information, the fact that there was no sort of checks and balances on who can get added to the communication just throws all that out the window. It doesn't matter how secure your lines of communication are. If you're sending your battle plans, your war plans, your strike plans, the times that things are going to take place in the realm of an attack against the Houthis, if you're sending it to somebody outside of the circle of trust, you've done screwed the pooch. There's nothing that can be done. At that point, your operational security is shit. Because it doesn't matter how good your encryption is if you're sending it to people who shouldn't be getting it, which is what they did. So that is why you don't use a phone messaging app that does not screen invitees. Yep, pretty much. Like there should be like approved people like in a main group, and then like, okay, these people are all people who you can communicate with. Now let's split it off into subgroups. Nope. It just threw everybody. He just threw everybody in, including a member of the media. And it's just so crazy. And of course, they make excuses, and they're like, oh, but what about Biden? What about this? What about them? What about them indeed? But there's some, this is just one of the many examples of what goes on here in this administration. Here we have NBC fact-checking the White House live.
This Judge Boasberg, is a Democrat activist. He was appointed by Barack Obama. His wife has donated more than $10,000 to Democrats, and he has consistently shown his disdain for this president and his policies, and it's unacceptable.
Right where I wanted to go about the idea that these people are all foreign terrorists, but Judge Boasberg was originally appointed by George W. Bush and then elevated by Barack Obama. I just feel like I should clear that up.
Well,
don't be mean and fact-check me in my own meeting.
let me just say something to that effect, Garrett. 67% of all of the injunctions in this century have come against which president? Donald J. Trump. This Judge Boasberg.
Well, maybe Donald J. Trump shouldn't be doing all of those things that require injunctions against him. Maybe he should follow the law. If he followed the law, he wouldn't have that many injunctions against him. It's just typical MAGA conservative asshat thinking that the problem with the injunctions are the people making the injunctions and not the people who are the target of those injunctions, i.e., your dumbass administration that you have chosen to work for because you like lying, I guess, for a living. I mean, all politicians lie, I guess. How do you know a politician is lying? Their lips are moving. But just this whole thing is just one of the many absurdities of this administration. It's like, oh, well, you know, it's proof because they did all of these injunctions against Trump and it's unfair. No, maybe you should just follow the rules.
If there was anyone other than Hillary Clinton, they would be in jail right now.
Nobody is above the law, not even Hillary Clinton, even though she thinks she is.
Mishandling classified information is still a violation of the Espionage Act.
When you have the Clinton emails, on top of the fact that the sitting president of the United States admitted he had documents in his garage, they didn't prosecute, they didn't go after these folks.
If there was anyone other than Hillary...
And again, we covered that in the video earlier, which was simply the fact that if Biden would have done more than just having them in his garage, it would have been an issue. It would have been an issue. But they returned the documents when it was asked for. No harm, no foul, right? But Trump did more than just that. He lied to the grand jury that they sent all of the stuff in and used his lawyers to lie for him to do that. So no, it's not the exact same thing. But y'all only care about, national security and classified information and classified documents if it's other people doing it. If Trump mishandles the documents, even after signing that bill into law that made it a felony instead of misdemeanor, oh well, it's the Democrats' fault. They're coming after. It's lawfare. Boo-hoo. Then there's this one. We'll do this one real quick as well, because this is Peter frickin' Doocy of Fox News that's challenging something of the press secretary.
Officials here were miffed that Zelensky showed up last week without a suit for his meeting in the Oval Office, but Elon Musk never wears a suit.
He did last night.
So what is...
He did last night, but he didn't beforehand, did he? No. And nobody made a peep about Elon Musk walking around with his tech support shirt or whatever and walking around not being professionally dressed. Oh, but he did one night. So therefore it makes everything okay and it stops us from being seen as hypocrites, right? Wrong. Sorry there. That's not how this works.
What is the dress code?
Well, Elon Musk wore a suit last night. I'm sure you saw it.
Was he spooked by the Zelensky getting kicked out?
I see she's just completely speechless because she doesn't know how to handle it because I guess one of the people who she assumed she could ask a question to and not be challenged is challenging her on a question.
No, I don't think so. I'm just pointing out that he did wear a suit last night. And I think...
I'm pointing out that he did wear a suit last night. Does she have a bit of a code?
The president liked that very much, and he looked great.
Officials here were miffed.
He looked great. He looked so great in his suit. How lovely he looked. But you didn't answer the question. You didn't answer. But again, this is the whole thing. This is what the job of a press secretary, I guess, is. I guess both administrations do it, but it's just so ridiculously mind-numbingly just grating when the Republicans are doing it, especially when it's under Trump, because they have to pivot so much because you can't stay anywhere near the target of the question, because if you do, it makes everything look bad. So, but there's 3 short clips of the Trump administration and the responses by the Trump and the hypocrisy thereof. So leave your comments down below. Remember to like the video, share, subscribe, and of course, have a good day. Let's see. Let's scroll on back to where we were. Everyone on that chain should have a clear name and their number displayed. That's the thing, though, is that apparently some of their information is out there already, and because their personal information, their personal cell phone information are out there, that potentially puts the whole Signal thing at risk even more than it was. So. Let's see. Let's scroll on back again a bit. So yeah, bring back photo developing drive-up booths. I miss those. No, I don't. I like being able to just send it into Walgreens or whatever and just like, boom, here are my pictures, done. There you go. Let's see. His arms, because he broke them. He mocked him also for not being able to raise his arms, knowing he broke his arms in Vietnam. I don't remember that one. I wouldn't be surprised if he did, but I more remember the mocking of the him getting captured and less of him not being able to raise his arms up. But maybe he did. I could, evolved. There's always, when you're listing all of the things that Donald Trump has done that's horrible, you're bound to miss a bunch because there's so many. See, I already heard Maggot saying, well, at least Trump's doing something. Well,
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Yeah, Biden never said to discuss private SI level intelligence while on messaging apps. No, I'm sure. Surely he did not. Let's see. Eating a strawberry cream cheese pastry. That sounds good. With security clearance, job title, and photo verification or other verification. Yes, that is all. That probably would be a good idea to make sure that everybody's photo up there so you know who you're talking. I mean, and then again, I could pretend to be Tulsi, right? I could get my number that's very close to Tulsi's. Be one off. Call myself Tulsi Gabbard. Get myself invited into that chain and be like, oh yes, I'm really Tulsi Gabbard. Give me all the stuff. So. Let's see. Trump has been pretty slick with his drama basically being about Elon and Doge. Now seeing a lot of Hegseth, Quinsley, big brain, keeping the heat off of him. I don't know if Hegseth has a big brain or not. I mean, he couldn't even remember who started the war in Ukraine when he on Fox News was going over the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. So no, I don't think he has a very big brain at all. Maybe a big inflated ego. That's all that it is. It's not a big brain. It's a big ego. Yeah, easy. I wonder why. Because he didn't follow the law. Exactly. Yeah, she's 27 and married to like some 50-year-old or something. Now, look, I think once you're above 25, it is what it is. I'm sorry. Once you're above 25 years old, if you want to date whoever you want to date, people are going to look at you weird. You understand that people are going to look at you weird, and that's fine. Maybe she went after him. Again, that's fine, I guess. Like, it's still weird. Like, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know. What was she, like 25 or 25, and he was, like, in his 50s or whatever? I mean, I guess I'm almost that old. I'm 48 at this point. Ugh. My knees feel older than that. But it's still just, it's kind of weird. And like, I'm almost 50. But I don't necessarily think I look almost 50. I mean, I do have the gray. But Republicans age badly. They age really badly. All that hate just eats away at your, skin or whatever and makes you just into a horrific freak. Anyway. Happy birthday, Fancy. Thank you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fancy. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Anyway, let's see. I should be like, why do I have to take BA from a 27-year-old who cannot run for POTUS and won't call out major security breach? Well, BS. Okay, I figured he meant BS, but wasn't quite sure. Maybe you're talking about bachelor's of arts instead of bachelor's of science. I don't know. But look, it is the job of basically the press secretary. It is the job of a press secretary to be a bullshit artist. Whether or not the press secretary is on the left or on the right, all of them are bullshit artists. All of them are masters of how do we pivot this conversation from this question to something way the hell out here and make sure and make people like, oh, okay. So, yeah, Democrats question Biden. Again, Democrats are always questioning ourselves because we are not hypocrites. We just do it too much because we like to shoot ourselves in the feet. So, see, Biden talked to special. It's scrolled again. See, Trump treated security docs like magazines in the waiting area. I think he treated security docs like magazines somewhere else, like in the bathroom. Maybe that's why he was in the bathroom, because he wanted to do things. I'm wondering if any of the documents were stuck together after Donald Trump is done with them. That's all I'm saying. Can of lies, Levitt won't last much longer. I mean, Trump did go through a lot of people in his first term, right? So says I hit lactose intolerance 10 years ago. If you lactose, it'd be hard to walk around, right? So I was watching the A-Team all day, so I don't want to hear this. I don't want to feel any of this fool and his jibber jabber. Don't give me none of that jibber jabber. I pity the fool. Sorry, Ducey's not good, but clearly he hates hypocrisy and the optics. This is him calling out the optics. Yep. But still, I was a little shocked to see that it was Ducey. Like, I had to go look it up. I was like, is that really Ducey? Is that really Steve? Is that really Peter Ducey? Like, come on. When the Republicans start calling him out, you know there's issues. But not enough of them are calling him out. I don't think they'd matter at this point. I don't think it would matter to anybody. I don't think Trump's poll number could be in the tens, and he would and the Republicans would make excuses for him as to why he should still remain in office. So I'm going to try Signal now. I'm just nosy. I think I do have Signal downloaded. I'm not quite sure. They should have a way of identifying people by number so they can be kicked out automatically, as you said. Yeah, exactly. Lactate medicine is the real one. Vision, you can buy it anywhere. Yeah, I don't like the lactose-free milk. It's gross. See, I mean, get a Fogo to live to logins. I mean, you'd think that'd be smart. You'd think that, you know, in a regular administration, things would happen in a smart way. But we have Tulsi Gabbard as the head of as Department of National Intelligence. We have the DEI guy, Pete Hegseth, in as for DOD, for SecDef or whatever. We have a just whole riches of stupidity going on. Like if we had if we could make money on like the reverse level, like, you know, take how low their intelligence is, and if the lower the intelligence, the more money we get, we'd be frickin' rich. So Suzanne's leaving. Thank you. Good night. Let's see. Thank you for stopping by. Have a good one. If I didn't miss you already. Well, some reporter asked Trump this: who has the biggest brain, you or Elon? I have the biggest brain. Nobody else has a bigger brain. And then Musk would storm off and be all mad. You said that I was the biggest brain. So, you know, the secretary is the CYA person. I mean, again, that's every press secretary technically. I couldn't type faster than Dan Wood could say it. What did I say quickly that you would have typed out? So, I don't know. Pre-roll of cereal milk today? A pre-roll, huh? Interesting. Cereal milk? Is that the flavor? See, I saw a meme, Kristi Noem as a lineman telling Trump, hell, you know, you want to get Kristi Noem after the deal, just tell somebody tell her that there's a dog out in a loose somewhere, but that he's dressed as some other person, and Kristi Noem will go take care of it, right? So, let's see. Trump never heard the axiom, you can't break a stick in a bundle. Probably. It's KK Caroline and oat milk. Oat milk for the lactate. See, I just like regular milk. I haven't found any other non-milk that made me go like, this tastes good enough for me to not want to drink milk. So, two lines up, the secret document, just comment, you beat me to the punch. That's what I do. Like Obama with the 3-pointer. See, seriously, how do people accept a position they know they're completely unqualified for? I'd say Mick Rittenhouse, President 47's private physician. Hey, Rittenhouse has, like, the people who were backing Rittenhouse, apparently, I haven't paid much attention to this because he's not that, but he's like, he's angry at Trump for something that Trump did on guns, and then a lot of the conservatives now are turning on Rittenhouse for the fact that he is now being critical of Trump because of something Trump did on guns. It's great to see them eat their own for a change. That dog don't hunt. Bang. Exactly, Big Hook. Exactly. Let's see. What else did I want to talk about today? Regular milk equals lower abdominal disintegration. So it's better for me to drink regular milk than oat milk, or just if I have lactate or whatever, or if I'm lactose intolerant or whatever. I don't know. So I got a free pre-roll called Grape Pie. Interesting. See, I don't do the rolls. I just have the gummies. So. Although I do know a bunch about food allergies, though, because my wife does run a local celiac group. That was one of the things that it was weird. Like, she felt, and I'm not gonna, I didn't necessarily witness all of this, but I was there for all of it, so I will believe my wife when she says these things. And the one time I did see it, it was kind of weird. Like, she was in there and she was talking about how she needed, you know, to have gluten-free food or whatever, and she had celiac disease, and they like didn't believe her almost. It was really weird how the people in the hospital, like, this is not dietary. This is like doctors, like in the ER or whatever, like questioning her on her celiac. She's like, I run a freaking group to in this city. Like, I run the best. I'll be honest, it's the best gluten-free group in New Orleans that exists on Facebook currently. It's very, very active, very popular. There's some of the people don't frickin' listen when it comes to the rules of the group. And I've had to take up the mantle of being the bad guy to allow my wife to just enjoy the group, especially when she was in the hospital and dealing with all that BS. But yeah, like people were just like doubting her and, like, you know, just not like, are you sure you're gluten intolerant? Are you sure you can have gluten? You can't have gluten? Yes, I'm sure. And she proved it to them when she got glutened one time and they were not happy with the results. I'm like, well, you shouldn't have glutened her then. Because again, it's really bizarre how a hospital, dietary department can't handle things like celiac disease. You'd think that'd be a super easy thing to avoid allergens, especially because people are going to have issues when you gluten them. So don't gluten them, right? And apparently, one of the times she got glutened, apparently one of the people in her group is married to one of the doctors that are there. And so when the person in the group saw that Cassie had gotten glutened at the hospital that the doctor, her doctor husband worked at, and the doctor husband apparently had at some point dealt with her, she like slapped him on the arm and like, how could you let them gluten her? She runs this group, for damn it. And apparently he was like, I can't have that discussion with you because it's a HIPAA violation. But it's not a HIPAA violation for me to talk about it, but it's just absurd that they can't handle the glutening or not glutening people. So let's see, all science is being defunded, especially medical research. Science literacy is a MAGA. Science illiteracy is a MAGA prerequisite. Exactly. Hold on. Let's see. Trying to. Oh, Jeff Curry. He's our favorite president by default. He's the only one who's gotten it now, so he's right. I mean, I guess. I mean, he would say your favorite president. Have a good birthday dinner, Fancy. Hope you have a good rest of your day. Wait, what's weird? Oh, the whole celiac gluten-free thing, or whatever. Call RFK Jr. and demand he make doctors deal with gluten. See, the way I would do it, if I was a politician, if I was serving in office and I was in the House of Representatives, what I would do to help people with celiac disease out is I would push for a law. I would sponsor a law, and I would seek Republican co-sponsors of the law. And I would call the law in title the protecting American wheat farmers bill, or some other bunch of letters together that would actually make that like, you know, I don't know if we call it the wheat bill or something. Something that would be like, you know, something put America in it, American Wheat Farmer Protection Group or whatever you want to call it. And then get the Republicans to say this is a patriotic thing to do to bolster our products that are made with American wheat. And you would then have to then require everybody, regardless of how much wheat, even if it's a scintilla of wheat in there, you would be required to mark on the front that to say that it's either American-made wheat or non-American-made wheat. And what would that have the benefit of doing? Letting everybody who can't have wheat know that this product has wheat in it. So the people who need to be gluten-free would have better labeled stuff while supporting our wheat farmers of America. So the conservative and Republicans would view it as a great patriotic way to support our farmers. The farmers would look at it, the wheat farmers of America would look at it as a way to celebrate the fact that they're making the wheat for their products. And all of the people with celiac would be like, thank goodness these are now being labeled because there are some weird ass things that have wheat in it. I found plain vanilla ice cream that when you read the ingredients, which should only be like vanilla, sugar, milk, cream, you know, those things, maybe xanthan gum, I guess, if, you know, you're getting out into the, you know, non-organic type stuff or whatever. But there's plain vanilla ice cream that has wheat in it, and not just made in a facility that also produces things with wheat in it, not made on shared lines that have wheat. No, had literal wheat in the damn ingredients. Why? There's no reason to, it's unnecessary to put wheat in things that don't need wheat. But that's one of the many things that you have to look out for when you're dealing with celiac disease, is that sort of BS. But, Jeff, I have no idea what wheat, gluten, trans fats, high fructose corn syrup is. High fructose corn syrup, I will absolutely tell you, makes things worse. I'll absolutely tell you that. Yes, there are good tasting things with HFCS in it, but when you, like, if you have a Mexican Coke that's made with sugar compared to an American one that's made with it, the Mexican Coke is just that much better. They used to make throwback Pepsis or whatever. I remember when they first came out with it, it was made with like beet sugar instead of corn sugar, and it was so much better. Like, I would rather a Mexican Coke over a throwback Pepsi, but I would rather a throwback Pepsi over a regular Coke made with high fructose corn syrup. So, vanilla beans are not American made. No, sure, but I'm not saying the entire thing has to be American made. I'm just saying that for if I was going to make a bill to help protect people with celiac disease from unnecessary wheat showing up in the products, that's how I would do it. Is I would fool the Republicans into thinking that they were supporting it for a patriotic support our farmers reason, when it's really for our people don't need to see gluten in it. I'd also probably want to make sure that the gluten requirements, or the labeling requirements, are a little more strict than what they currently are, because you can still have less than 20 parts per million and have it be safely considered gluten-free, even if it's not. Of course, according to the Book of Lists, you can have rat poop in chocolate. So if you want to enjoy your chocolate bar and are squeamish, don't read the Book of Lists when it comes to what can be in chocolate, because So, see, MA, a single vanilla bean in America will set you back $10. What you get in jars is imitation vanilla. You don't get real vanilla very often. No, you pretty much don't. You have to go on like a cruise or whatever. Easy E. Tony Michaels posted a caption of Trump holding a sign saying, "From the river to the sea, I gave Putin my asshole for free." He gave him Eric and Don Jr.? Oh, that would be assholes. I'm sorry. That's not singular asshole. But yes, we all know Trump bends over backwards and forwards for Putin, however Putin wants it that particular day, right? This conversation wants me to get to the bottom of my dairy sensitivity. Yeah, dairy sensitivity, because Cassie doesn't seem to react well to most things. like milk, like she won't drink milk or else she feels, or she'll get like some sort of something. So she thinks she's lactose intolerant, but she's not totally, because she can have cheese and she can have some other thing like ice cream and it doesn't bother her, but milk will bother her. There was actually a while where I was drinking, where I was getting weird stomach things dealing with milk, and so I stopped drinking milk for a while, and that just seemed to go away. I don't know if that's the case or not, but you know, according to old Donnie boy,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. But yeah, the next thing, like one time I got like a 7-Up. I think I was down on a cruise or something, and I was thirsty, and so I picked up a can of 7-Up. That was nice and cold, and I was thirsty, and I was like, this is really good 7-Up, and I looked out and I saw azúcar and didn't see maíz in it, so I was like, hey, look at that. That's a way to determine whether or not you actually have high fructose corn syrup or not in a Mexican or Spanish speaking country, because you know, whatever. I do have to say something that I saw today that was really funny, and this is like, I normally leave my my discussions on wrestling to my Nerdy Dan channel or whatever, but I was very amused when the Canadian fans, when they held a premium live event in Canada and they started singing the Star Spangled Banner, and all the Canadian fans were just booing the Star Spangled Banner. I'm like, that's just great. I was like, no one should be surprised at this. You have a heel president. You know, the president's a heel, a bad guy, so why are we surprised or whatever? So they have another bad guy or heel in wrestling, and he's I think that his whole stable, like his wrestling stable, is called like American Made or whatever. But he's recently been showing himself in wrestling. He's calling himself El Grande Americano. That is the name of this person, Chad Gable's alter ego, which is him in a mask, him like an American mask. And the rest of the outfit is pretty much the same outfit that he wears all the time. But what they did was, this is the only time I'll say it, or maybe one of the few times I'll say it on the show as the name that Trump wants you to call it. But they made him a bad guy, and then they said that he hails from the Gulf of America. Like, he's from the Gulf of America. That's where this bad guy character comes from. And I was just like, oh my God, that's amazing. It's great to see wrestling mocking conservatism, because that's what they're doing with that. This guy's a bad guy. It's ridiculous that he's trying to play off that he's not this guy when everybody knows he is this guy. That's not the first time they've done this bit before in wrestling. They did a similar thing with Hulk Hogan and a character called Mr. America. But now I'm showing you that I know way too much about wrestling, I guess. But it's just, I was just very impressed and just happy that they were making the use of the Gulf of America be something just that absolutely just mocking of the administration, which is weird because, you know, the person who runs it right now, Paul Levesque, is married to Stephanie McMahon Levesque, who is Vince and Linda McMahon's children, and they're all Trump supporters. So, but the fact that wrestling will go out and actually mock this thing, that's the only time that the Gulf of Mexico should be called anything else, and that's when you're mocking President Trump and his ridiculousness for calling it the Gulf of America. So, anyway, that's hilarious. Are you back, Impeccable Living? Did you sneak off to go do something whilst you were gone? Because you were here earlier and then you didn't comment anything, and now you're back. Is there something that you happen to be doing in the meanwhile, there, my friend? Let's see. Joe Rogan said he won't go to UFC event in Canada, but he'll go to one in Russia. Well, of course. Why wouldn't Joe Rogan come to Russia? It's good country. You can be nice and cold. It beats the heat during the summer. It's very good. You come to Russia. We give you some nice talking to as well, where you don't talk bad about Putin. As long as you don't talk bad about Putin, it's okay. If you talk bad about Putin, we send you to Siberia. Come here, Rosie Posey. Everybody wants to see you and not your cloaking device. What you doing, Rosie? Yeah. Let's see. Nothing better than the actual vanilla. The flavor explodes. No comparison to the fake Cheerios. Yeah, that's true. Well, we can all bring Uranus back up. Hey, Joan Spoon, thank you for the follow over on Twitch. Appreciate you for following over there. Impeccable Living, I'm sorry, honey. Jeff, I'm sending you positive energy. I hope it reaches you. Hey, Rosie Posies. Do I need to come up a little bit more to be able to bring you fully into view? Yes. My audience, there you go. There's your cat. There's cat butt for everybody. Oh, now you're back. I guess I should, there you go. Just bring the hand a little further down so then Rosie has no choice but to show her face on camera. Everybody loves you, Rosie. Yes, because you're a sweet kitty. You're a rare female orange kitty. Because usually the orange ones are male. But occasionally I guess you get an orange one. And this is our nice orange one. Yeah, Joe Rogan annoys me. Yeah, I only like Joe Rogan when he did like Fear Factor and other crap, and not when he became like, you know, Mr. Podcaster, you know, spewing up his conspiracy BS or whatever. You know, when he had like they had Joe Rogan on the Dave Chappelle show, and they had on, you know, let me tell you something, Joe Rogan, I smoke rocks. That was hilarious. But now Joe Rogan can kick rocks for all I care, or something else that might be more salty language, right? One vision, like the difference between corn syrup and syrup from a Canadian tree. Yeah, I guess that's my one basic thing about me. I do like now I would rather it made with real syrup than high fructose corn syrup, but I do like the fake maple syrup better than the real maple syrup. And I know it's bad. I know it's probably bad for you. And I know there are people who live by regular maple syrup who are just like, ugh. I mean, even my grandparents on my dad's side, my grandparents would have a regular jar of maple syrup for the normal people, and then the sugary Aunt Jemima or whatever it is now, BS for me and my basic self. So let's see. I liked him on Chappelle. Even Rogan had the moon landing with fake guy who got punched by Aldrin on the show. Yes, corn syrup. Yeah, corn syrup is, especially high fructose corn syrup, is bad. So now I do like, you know, darker rums though. Those are always good. Yes, my kitty does have an invisibility cloak, or at least she has one. She disappeared, as my son would say. My oldest son used to say, instead of disappeared, he would say disappeared, which is very cute. So, all right, let's go ahead. It's before 10. I think I would be remiss if I didn't turn the show on, turn the phone lines on for a bit, give Big Hook a chance to call in if Big Hook wants to. Let other people call in if they want to. Let me make sure that my ringer is down so I don't hear the ringtone. Don't hear man in the box. I'm the man in the box, buried in my shit. I want to try Mexican Coke. Take that how you like, Dan. Well, you know, if it's not, you know, 8 ounces of black tar heroin, then I guess, you know, it might still allow for the vagaries or whatever. That's a very funny card in Cards Against Humanity that I've played before. Already called one, said love what you do. Well, thank you, appreciate you, of course. But again, 562 LibDan1, 562-542-3261. We will leave the phone lines open for a little bit at least, just to if anybody wants to chime in, say how dumb Trump is. Anybody wants to call in and try and defend anything that this stupid-ass Trump administration is doing. I still want to hear conservatives call in and try and defend the whole 14188 executive order, because, again, no way that was a coincidence. None. Not one bit. And I will continue to harp on that for days, weeks, and months to come. Just remember to, you know, remind your fellow Nazis that their favorite president of all time is giving the anti-Semitic dog whistles that they love to see and hear and whatever. So, Surrender Monkey, I had an ex-girlfriend who couldn't pronounce properly. How did they pronounce like, can you spell it out phonetically how they would pronounce properly? how they would improperly pronounce properly. Oh, there we go. There's Big Hook. We got Big Hook. Yeah, we will just say one. I already know the area code and the whole phone number, so I don't even need to hear the call from. Just boom, there you go. How you going, man? What's going on?
Well, you know how it is. The cuckoo.
Yeah, the
yeah,
cuckoo
he's,
It is what it is.
I don't know how you guys are going to survive this avalanche of crap that Trump keeps pouring on you. I just don't know how you're going to survive. It's unreal. I mean, he's closing all the Social Security call centers. He's closing the offices. He's, the Social Security website has crashed 3 times, as Rachel Maddow was saying. I mean, I don't know. You guys seem to be in a free fall situation, and I don't know what you guys have either got to have a national strike alongside of a 3 million man march on Washington D.C., or this is going to be over in less than 6 months.
No, in the good way or in the bad way? Because in the good way, maybe I want that to happen. I don't know, but I think I don't know what it's going to take for. I mean, basically, I did get a conservative to block me on Facebook the other day on my personal account, simply because of the fact that all I did was basically say, Donald Trump is one day going to do something that will screw over you or somebody that you love, and please come back and let us know because I want to laugh at you. And that was enough to get myself blocked from that person. I'm like, good, maybe I could say that to more MAGA folks and get them to block me as well, because I'm more than happy to find the things that will piss them off, because they know they somewhere deep down, some of them have to know already. I mean, you already have the people who are like, I thought he was going to be bigoted against the other people, that I didn't think that my husband, who's a veteran, would lose his job. He served his country, and now Donald Trump is screwing him over. I'm like, that's because you voted for bigotry, you ignorant asshole. So I don't know how many people are going to have to find out before action is taken by said people, but to be like,
because that's my concern right now is that he just signed that executive order yesterday trying to overturn your right to vote, because he's going to make it so that way you have to have a passport, you have to have a birth certificate, citizen certificate. He's sorry, excuse me.
No, totally understand.
It's a huge poll tax that he's basically inflicting on everyone, because I mean, lots of people don't live where they were born anymore, and I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go back to your birth state to go collect a birth certificate? I mean, he's shutting down every single thing, so it's not easy to do this stuff. And then on top of that, he's going to pull the maiden name thing with with people that have taken their husband's last names. I mean, and then Malcolm Nance was saying earlier that he has seen, there are reports that the special bombers are all being, flown out to, which looks like he's going to basically go to war with Iran. I mean, he said, I don't foresee why you would need, he says, because normally you only need one of those planes to do an exercise, and he says it's been reported that there's 7 of them already out in the convening area where there's all that activity. So I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to war. Maybe they're going to Iran. Maybe they're going to Gaza, because he did say he was going to flatten Gaza and redevelop it. So maybe they're going to both. I don't know, but again, it's weird what ticks off conservatives. Like, I find it really weird what sets them up. Like, I was listening to that show that I always listen to one morning, and there's one guy who typically says nice things about me, generally speaking, when it comes to the fact that I call in and I seem rather informed as compared to everybody else that Jeff wants to let hear on the show. I'm one of the good ones, I guess. I don't know, but he was pissed off because Trump was still backing Netanyahu for Netanyahu just carpet bombing Gaza and killing more innocent civilians living in Gaza. And I was like, wow, really? You're actually coming out now? I don't know if this person was doing it because he's just doesn't like supporting a Jewish state and therefore is opposed to Jews, or if he's doing it because he really actually doesn't want to see innocents be bombed. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, even though I probably shouldn't, and say that maybe he just doesn't. Maybe that's his line in the sand of bombing too many civilians. I don't know, but it's just the problem that we have with this administration is that under normal circumstances, you should be able to be like, hey, X, Y, and Z, this person's done. There's no political capital anymore. Over. In this particular case, these people have their blinders on so badly that they won't. Like, it's going to take a lot of pain to a lot of people for enough MAGA folks to be like, we've had enough. And even then, I don't even know if it'll be enough. And that's the problem.
Yeah, but here's the other thing, right? Like, we already had, what's her name, Alison Mooney, the Canadian actress that was jailed and detained by ICE for 12 days. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of German tourists who have been jailed. There's people from Denmark and other places that have been jailed. I mean, basically, Trump is saying, don't come here because we're no longer your allies anymore. He's
right.
Basically sending out the signal that, I'm with Russia, and you guys are going to find out the hard way that what I say goes. And, this is getting out of control. I mean, the Mad King is showing everything, and well, I didn't vote for you. I mean, once he basically refuses to, abide by the courts, I mean, what is there left to do? Because he doesn't hire people based on merit. Merit. It's based on loyalty.
Yep.
He has surrounded himself with yes men who will do any crazy thing that he tells them to do. So
pretty much. And I'm wondering, like, even Speaker Johnson has floated the idea for eliminating the federal courts altogether, because the federal courts are made at the behest of Congress or whatever. You only are required to have a Supreme Court. You're not required to have the lower level courts. That's just something that Congress is empowered to do by the Constitution and not necessarily required to do. And if that's the case, then what's going to happen at that point? Everything is just figured out by the states, and then the Supreme Court has to then really filter out what's going on. That's just even another way to just weaken the courts, to make that other branch of government not be an effective check and balance. But again, if Donald Trump's going to ignore them anyway, what uses are they? If he's basically going to just write off the courts and say, like, I'm not, what are they going to do? Then they're useless at that point, because
I'm convinced you guys are going to have to rewrite the Constitution and come up with a system that has language that is unambiguous and basically calls everything for what it is. Because the problem is that we look at it and we're calling strikes, and they're going, no, that's a ball. We don't pay any attention to that. I mean,
yep.
the whole opinion versus fact has become a real problem, because everything is in question, and it's only getting worse, because he is going out there and literally spreading mental illness. Like it's idiocracy on steroids, because these people are like, yeah, that's what I think too. And it's like, no, like, you're an idiot. Read a book, do a scientific method assessment of what's going on. I mean, these people are insane. I don't know. There's no hope. And as many have said, don't bother arguing with them because they're lost.
Right.
You're wasting your time and your energy. Those aren't the people that you want to be talking to. What you want to do is start reaching that 90 million people who don't freaking show up at the vote. Because at this point, it's now filtering down to them, because now they're going to feel it because they thought, I'm not going to participate because it won't do anything for me anyway. And it's like, yeah, now it's going to affect you.
Right.
So now the question is, are you going to step up and do something for a change instead of, playing, I don't have any opinion on nothing. And, I just work 3 jobs and barely survive, and that's my lot in life, as opposed to, fighting for something better for yourself and for everyone else.
Well, if we do decide to have a new constitutional convention and redraw the Constitution, I do worry about the idea that we have to spell out everything that's a right. Simply because of the fact that that was maybe one of the few things that the Founding Fathers got right, is that rights shouldn't have to be enumerated, and there should be a catch-all for the other rights, but we should probably make it to be clearer that rights are not the same thing as powers. People have rights, government has powers, and government should not be able to trample rights using their powers unless it's shown that, there is a reasonable reason to do so, and put that test clear as well in whatever new constitution there is. But if we do that, we'll probably have to enter a period of martial law where the military takes over, much like they did in Egypt way back when there was, I guess the attempted coup or whatever, and the military did their thing and said, look, we are not going to let this person take over. We're going to put it in the hands of a duly elected person and not somebody who is this. But I don't know if that happens before he refuses to leave office in 2028, 2029. So
yeah, but here's the other thing with the Signal thing. It's that we had the Pegasus phone hacking scandal from before, and it's not like this is something from out of the blue. These people knew that you cannot do anything on a public phone, or even. And these people were breaking protocol at every juncture, they aren't using the skiff. They aren't following the rules. There's, what was it? Remember that from before when they went down there and they marched into the secure hearing, and the Republicans marched in with their cell phones and brought pizza and did a sit-in and whatnot, and we're not dealing with rational people anymore. They've shown that they don't respect the law. They don't respect anything. And, now they have a president who will, overlook everything. He's already pardoned all the people that did January 6th.
Well, those are his brown shirts. And now he wants to put together a fund. Now he's trying to put a fund together to benefit those people, because they were so
he wants to pay reparations.
Yeah, but he'll pay reparations to them. He won't pay reparations to the people who actually need them, like the descendants of slavery and other people who, victims of the, unequal justice system and the war on drugs, and how that inadvertently or hurt, or not inadvertently, that's not the word I'm looking for, but just disproportionately harmed black people as compared to everyone else. So, don't do that reparations, but, pay reparations to the terrorists who attacked on January 6th, because some of them didn't enter the building, so all of them therefore should get money. But that's how he makes his brown shirts. That's probably the way that he's probably going to try and privately fund them through something, and then that he'll be his armed personal military and that's how that starts.
Well, that's the other thing. I've been watching National Geographic channel there on YouTube, and Traffic, that series with the lady Mariana. She was showing a thing on ghost guns, and people are going out there and making their own guns.
Right.
I mean, they can buy these kits and they can go out and and make their own AK-47 or AR-15, by themselves. And it's totally legal because there's a loophole that says only one component is regarded as the gun, and it's like, so then he'll send them a blank, but because it doesn't have two holes drilled in it, and he has them already punched, so that way you know exactly where to drill the holes, he can send you that part as well, and then you just assemble your gun right then and there in front of yourself.
Right.
And then it has no serial numbers, has no way to be traced. There's nothing. So you go, you kill somebody, you can throw the gun away so long as you're wearing gloves and there's nothing to tie it to you. I mean, the insanity is, just spiraling upwards. I mean, I don't mean to scare anybody, but, you guys are going through a mental health crisis where the crazy people are gaining strength and are listening to the Mad King who was spouting orders, and I don't know what it's going to come to. I'm really worried.
It's scary as it should be. I mean,
it's scary as fuck up here in Canada because we don't know what to do other than, at some point we're going to have to close the border and say, you know what, you are on your own.
Yep.
I mean, that's basically what Trump is telling the rest of the world is that we're not going to go to anybody's defense anymore. We're with Russia now.
He wants us to be the world's mercenaries. He wants us to be able to. He wants us to be able to say how we're going to earn money by being the world police instead of actually, understanding that, since we're the only ones capable of doing it, we have a responsibility to do it. Like, that's the one thing in the whole text chain that was just bizarre, is just they're saying we're the only ones who can do it, so we should be able to profit from it, instead of we're the only ones who can do it, so we should have the responsibility to do it. And that's the difference between the Republicans and the Democrats right there. On the ghost gun thing, though, was interesting. It was a 7-2 ruling today where the Supreme Court upheld the Biden-era regulations on the ghost gun. So Biden, they passed regulations or whatever saying, hey, this is what this is the deal with ghost guns. And then it was 7-2. Can you think of who the two people might have been in that two that the court that didn't go with the rest of the court? I mean, it's
Alito and Thomas.
Exactly. I mean, that's right in front of me right now. But even if you didn't tell me, and I knew it was just 7-2, I would have put money, dollars to donuts, that the two that dissented would be Alito and be Thomas. And each of them, of course, filed their own dissenting opinion. So we may have to go over those dissents, because I'm sure the dissent by Alito is just a full just show of asshattery, and proof, again, that he should have never been able to get a law degree, let alone pass the bar, let alone pass the LSATs. So,
yeah, but that's the thing now, though, as well, because you already have over 400 million guns out there that are already out there, registered legal guns. So how many ghost guns are there out there that we don't know about? And then on top of that, I was watching this thing about in Chicago. They had a gun buyback program, and the buyback people were not completely destroying the guns.
Right.
And it was like, yeah, and they were taking the one piece that was necessary to rebuild the gun, and were selling them, online.
And this is something, that one of the things that when we used to be on Blog Talk Radio, we used to have Khalil call in a bunch of the time or whatever, and he had this idea of making, guns to guardrails, where you basically use the melted down guns and melt them into guardrails to help build infrastructure up better. And I thought it was a great idea. But unfortunately, a lot of people with good ideas, unless you have money behind it, you don't get that accomplished. But it just reminded me of the fact that with gun buybacks, yeah, none of them are perfect, but I mean, if we could, take some of that, melt it down, and make it into, help make infrastructure symbolically, at least, it might be a good thing to do. But at this point, I haven't heard from Khalil since Blog Talk Radio Shat the Bed, even before it actually officially went off the air. So I hope Khalil's doing well.
Well, I mean, this is the other problem, right? Because, Texas Paul is saying, you better see about if you're thinking about your own self-protection, you better go and buy a gun soon now, because chances are, once the Republicans go, oh well, most of the guns are owned by Republicans, let's shut down all gun sales, and then we tell our people that they get to roam the streets and kick ass and take names and start putting people in handcuffs and whatever, the straps, the zip ties, and you can round them up, and we'll have we'll do our own public trial, and it'll be the return of the witch burnings.
Yep.
This stuff is getting out of control, and I don't know where. I don't know. Maybe I'm watching the wrong stuff and overreacting to what's out there, but
look, at this point, I'd rather we overreact a little too much and catch everything than underreact and not catch enough. There's of course a risk to that, which is if you overreact too much, then people stop believing you. At least if you're on our side, they can come up with all sorts of, they can be wrong as much as they want, and they don't have to worry about it because it's just Republicans being Republicans. When we're wrong once, it's like, oh, the horror, they're liars, whatever. So that's.
But the other thing is you look at all the concessions that he's already made to Putin, and Putin has not made not even one concession when it comes to the ceasefire in Ukraine. He's taking the sanctions off. He stopped the investigation of where the Ukrainian children that were kidnapped and put in Russia there. There's nothing. He's cutting the funding. He's decided that he's not going to do intelligence sharing with the allies that are supporting Ukraine. There's nothing there.
He's not even going to stop the Russian hackers from attacking us, because that's what Pete Hegseth started winding down. So there you go. So it's just. Chucker John in the chat. Hey, Chucker John, good to see you. But the problem with that is that conservatives have often been hypocritical when it comes to gun regulations that affect people that aren't white. Like, the NRA did nothing when Ronald Reagan tried to pass a gun ban in California when he was governor over there, that went after the Black Panthers. Conservatives love stop and frisk, even because stop and frisk targeted like 95% or more black and brown people as opposed to, white people. So as long as the white conservatives get to have their way, they're not going to care if everyone else loses their guns as well, because they don't think it's ever going to affect them. If one day it does, then they'll be mad, but then it may very well be too late. So,
yeah, but there's nobody that's safe there anymore. You have American citizens, Filipinos, and people of Asian descent who are now getting picked up and deported by ICE.
Yep.
For doing nothing.
For existing, for being not white in America.
Yeah, it's spiraling out of control, because he has to put on this big show that he is somehow doing something, and it's like, you're not doing anything. All you're doing is making the case for an overthrow of the government. That's all that he's been doing, and this is, and the other problem is that these people know that these are illegal orders and that this is not by the law and whatnot, and they are still doing it.
Yep. Someone needs to remind everybody daily that if somebody gives an illegal order, it is illegal to follow the order. So, and then, and then put that pressure on the people who need to hear that. Unfortunately, too many of them might not, but hopefully enough of them would. It's just a matter of, do we believe that it'll be enough? And at this point, obviously you're not sure. I'm not sure. I don't know at what point it becomes enough. I mean, was it Steve from across the pond?
If it's not Scottish, it's crap.
He was saying that he fears one day that you might go to YouTube and where is everyone? How me, other people get shut down. What happens at that point? I mean, it would be weird to see that happen, but do we doubt that it could? Not under this president. If Pam Bondi is going to threaten Jasmine Crockett for talking badly about Elon Musk, then what else might they do? What else will they threaten if you dare go after the Trump administration and their oligarchs? So, Jones Spoon, is it Jones Spoon? Is that, or Jones Spoon? Is that what it is? Unfortunately, I feel she goes on Twitch. Unfortunately, I feel we'll be having a revolution, and I'm not against that. That might happen. It may very well happen. I think it's more likely that we get martial law than an actual full-on revolution. But you never know. You never know what might happen. This president might just feel like he wants to. I never took seriously the actual threat. Like when people were saying that George W. Bush might not have elections in like 2008 or 2004. Like, I never really believed that. Like, I never really gave that much credence. I thought it was too much of a conspiracy theory when people did it the other side for, Obama or Biden or whatever, I was like, didn't take it seriously. And the reason I didn't is because I feel like those sort of things, when you talk about them, you have to, you can't be over the top with it. Like with too many times people would call people Nazis way back in the day who weren't clearly Nazis. I mean, because I was always worried that one day you're going to see somebody come to power who matches, what the Nazis did, and people aren't going to believe because of The Boy Who Cried Wolf if you just keep calling everybody Nazi. Because if everybody's a Nazi, then nobody's a Nazi. But that's why I full-throatedly say Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and all the rest of those people in his administration are a bunch of Nazis and Nazi-loving sycophants, because they are a real threat. And they, I don't care what conservatives want to say and how they want to write this off or whatever. 14188 is absolutely anti-Semitic. Doesn't matter what the title of the damn thing was. It was done specifically as a shout out to all their fellow little Nazis and Nazi followers and whatever, just to let them know that they had their back.
Well, when we dictated what the bad words were, they just went to dog whistles where they said, those people, the colored folk,
well, you can't say,
whatever,
you can't say the N-word anymore, so they'll just call you a DEI hire, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, so. I mean, everything is dog whistle, as well as the freedom of speech issues, where he says, oh, and by the way, now you're not allowed to use such and such words in any government documentation or regulations or paperwork, or it's all coming to a cataclysm where, this is, it's 1984. It really is. It's getting, you guys have, I don't know where the failing seems to be in the education and the dismantling of the truth, and people not trusting agencies that were supposed to report the truth. Because now, this is the thing that gets me. They say, oh, we want to privatize everything. And it's like, whenever there is a profit motive put above serving the public good, it just doesn't work. And it hurts people who don't deserve to be hurt. And this is what's been going on. They're going to hurt all these people. And it's all over making money. These people already have enough fucking money. There's nothing left. What are you going to do? Oh, I'm going to pollute the air more so I can make more money.
Yeah.
You can't breathe. Oh, I'm going to pollute the water now because it costs too much to dispose of it properly. So now you're not going to have any water to drink. I mean, where does it fucking end?
That's why the Jetsons and the Flintstones take place at the same time, because all the wealthy people just ruined the Earth and sent it back to the Stone Age. So all the wealthy people then got to move up to the stars, where all the peons and the poors got stuck down on the ground, working at in the gravel pits or whatever, because, you know,
it's
it actually makes sense. So anyway, I do want to go over this dissent from Alito. I haven't even read it yet, but I didn't want to. I wanted to read it through real quick before you go. Anything else you want to throw in before I start that up?
Not really. I mean, I could say Ave Maria. She wanted me to put that out there. She said, she says, I bet you won't do it. You won't sing for me. And I said, okay, that's definitely there. Yeah, I appreciate everybody out there that feels the same way I do, and we're gonna have to protest and protest and protest, and eventually we got to get to the point where the March on Washington is coming, and it's going to happen soon, because this cannot stand. Every day it's another scandal, it's another catastrophe. It's him trying to strip rights away from everybody and making it a crime to just exist. It's not, it's not a survivable situation. And until we step up and say, you shall not pass.
Yes.
This is not going to end well. So anyway, I said my piece. I guess if I sound crazy, it's because you guys are driving me fucking crazy.
I don't blame anybody for being driven crazy in this fustercluck of administration. So again, thank you so much, Big Hook, for calling in. You have a good rest of your night. Take a deep breath, have a Molson for me, and have a good one.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Bye.
All right, thank you. Bye. All right, that was Big Hook. Big Hook, everybody. I'm shutting down the phone lines for a smidge, just because of the fact that I do want to record this one thing before ending the show. Let's see. Imagine the scandalous crap we haven't heard about yet. That's the whole thing I was pointing at. That's one of the points I made about the whole, signal thing. We heard about this one. How many others exist where other people got added that shouldn't have been added? How do we know? I have reached out. There is the thing going on for April 5th, like 50 states, 50 state capitals, whatever. So I have asked the people. I did shoot an email to them and basically say, hey, if you would like to have somebody come on my show, we'd be more than happy to have you. So maybe we can talk to somebody from that organization before that happens. Otherwise, we'll still talk about it sometime next week. But hopefully, I can get somebody on the show to discuss it. Jones Spoon has somebody has to rescue us. I'm an activist, but not everybody is. We need aliens to add to land. And I said, yes, I fully look forward to our benevolent alien overlords. Apparently, there's a march in D.C. on May 1st, on top of there being a protest at each capital on April 5th for 50-50 day or whatever it is. So there's that. But let me go ahead, and we did want to record one more thing today before we end the show, and that is the Supreme Court of the United States, the ruling about gun bans, and specifically the ban on ghost guns. And again, it was ruled 7-2, and once I heard it was 7-2, I didn't even have to look see who were the people who responded to this, who were the dissenters. It was clearly going to be Justice Thomas and Justice Alito. We should have a drinking game for Justice Thomas's one, because I want to see how many times he actually cites himself, specifically his own dissents. It looks like Justice Thomas's dissent is much longer than Alito's. However, holy crap, this thing is ridiculously long. I mean, he even has a picture in it and everything. He likes to draw the pictures. Holy crap. I really don't know if I want to go through Thomas's dissent, because it is frickin', how many pages is this? I'm just going to assume that he cites himself 10 times, because I think that's a safe bet. That's probably a conservative bet. He probably cited himself and his own dissents many other times. Holy crap, I'm still scrolling, and this is the dissent. The dissent for Justice Thomas starts on page 33. The entire document is 63 pages, and once we got to page 33 is when we got to Justice Thomas's dissents or whatever. The government asked the court just last term to rewrite statutory text so it could regulate semi-automatic weapons. We declined to do so, blah, blah, blah. In 34, Congress enacted the National Firearms Act, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to go through the entire Thomas thing because it is just far too long, and I'm just trying to see if I can find one of the first example of him that says Thomas dissenting. Can I do it this way? Dissenting. The dissents. We are still not on page 33 yet, so let's just keep on going. We're not on page 33. Thomas dissenting. I respectfully dissent. No. Oh, he cites Alito dissenting. That's interesting. Justice Scalia's dissent. Justice Alito dissenting opinion. Oh, I missed one. Dissent. Just going to keep descending through the document to see if I see anything. I should maybe search for Thomas instead of that. Maybe I should be searching for Thomas. Let's go to 33 again, and we're going to search for Thomas. Of course, Thomas dissenting. Is he not citing himself? I'm gonna be really impressed if he's not inciting himself. That's a first time for everything. If he's not citing himself, he only cited Alito. Wow. He didn't cite himself that entire time. That shows an extreme amount of restraint on the part of Justice Thomas. Justice Alito dissenting. This is much shorter of a 63-page document. It starts on page 59. So I'm sure Alito's stupidity is going to be very concise and discreet, right? The court decides this case on a ground that was not raised or decided below, and that was not the focus of the briefing of the argument of the court. Specifically, the court concludes respondents mounted a facial challenge to a Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives rule implementing provisions of the Gun Control Act, that a party making such a challenge must meet the test that applies when a statute is challenged as facially unconstitutional, what I will call the Salerno test. Why are you calling it that, not everybody else? And 3, that the respondents cannot satisfy that demanding test. If I were satisfied that Salerno test should control here, I would join the opinion of the court. The court points to a gun kit that is all but assembled, 8-9, a frame that is close to completion as applied to those extreme circumstances the court holds, and I agree the rule does not deviate from the statute, but I am not certain that Salerno test should govern. Respondents' petition for review in this case claimed, among other things, that the ATF rule goes beyond what the Gun Control Act permits. See amended petition review in the Fifth Circuit and other courts of appeals. The provision has long been understood to permit a court to hold that a rule is invalid in toto. Thus, in both district court and court of appeals, the parties appear to have proceeded on the assumption that the question presented was simply about whether the ATF rule exceeded the agency's authority under the Gun Control Act. The government defended the rule as a correct interpretation of those statutory provisions and made no mention of the Salerno test, and for the most part, that was the position advanced in the government's briefs. As the court points out, however, one paragraph of the government's brief did make the Salerno argument, blah, 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 and perhaps because of this cursory treatment, none of the respondents addressed Salerno issue in their briefs or during oral argument. Noting this silence, the court regards the applicability of Salerno test as undisputed, and then it proceeds to apply the test. On the record here, I would not hold that the respondents agreed. The court relies on the use of the term facial in their complaints, but the characterization of the challenge does not constitute agreement, blah, blah, blah. That brings me to the question whether or not Salerno test should apply. In Moody 1, I set out what I saw the chief reasons for using that test when the statute is challenged. One of the most important things is lawmaking authority of the legislative body that enacted the law in question. A law passed by Congress or state legislature should not be held to be entirely unenforceable just because it would be unconstitutional to apply it in few situations. Okay. That would represent unjustified judicial interference within the authority of the body, blah, blah, blah. These threats to legislative authority is not present when a regulation is challenged. I recognize that 2 of our decisions support the use of Salerno in test cases involving this, blah, blah, blah. Applying Salerno rule, blah, blah, blah. This is not really all that exciting or whatever. It would also all but settle the debate whether this authorizes the court to render a rule unenforceable across the board. Respondents asserted a typical claim seeking to have a rule set aside in its entirety, and that the claim falls because there are at least some situations where application of the rule would be lawful. Then it seems to follow that virtually all such claims will fail as well. Yada, yada, yada. For these reasons, I respectfully dissent. I would either direct the parties to brief the Salerno issue or vacate the judgment below and remand so that the issue can be addressed fully by the Court of Appeals. So not really a terrible, all in all, ruling where I can jump up and down and say this is why Alito is an idiot, but apparently 7 of his Supreme Court Justice fellows, including the 3 who Donald Trump appointed, disagree with him and Thomas. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but since Thomas and Alito are typically the worst on this court, on the vast majority of things, I'm just going to go ahead and assume that it was a good thing that that happened. Black Dragon, Judge Thomas just loves his guns. I wonder how many ghosts he has. He probably has quite a few. If I had to reckon or gander, maybe Alito has the ghost guns as well, and he doesn't want the government coming in and taking away his ghost guns from his cold, ghostly hands, right? So I don't know, but thank you, Black Dragon, for your chat. Appreciate you as well. Remember to follow the channel if you have Amazon Prime. Also, remember to subscribe over on Twitch for free, because with Amazon Prime, it doesn't cost you a dime to steal Hal Sparks' line from him. Anyway, so let's just see any other chats going on, any messages in the chat. Let's see. Got your wish. How long before Trump realizes the Second Amendment is going to F his aggressive takeover of America? Who knows? Maybe he thinks it won't, because he'll be able to get the guns out of the hands of the people who he wants to get the guns out of the hands out of. You know, he doesn't want black and brown people to have the guns. He doesn't want liberals, leftists to have the guns. He only wants his brown shirts to have the guns, and he'll work to enforce the law in such ways. It's like just like the whole, you know, you have, I guess, you know, your judicial restraint, or whatever the word, prosecutorial discretion on who you get to prosecute and who you don't get to prosecute. And you'll have situations where the Trump administration are going to see things that are clear violations of law but won't prosecute because, you know, they're not going to want to. Take, for example, what we talked about on Monday, which is the whole thing dealing with whether or not the Donald Trump administration will allow federal contractors to hire people in discriminatory ways. I'm thinking that there's, because they lifted the executive order preventing the hiring or the hiring of firms who do discriminatory hiring practices, you know, that basically is like, well, you know, it's still against the law to do it. Yeah, but do we trust that Pam Bondi and the Trump administration's Justice Department is going to go ahead and, you know, go after those federal contractors who are doing the work that Trump wants them to do just because they're hiring in a discriminatory way? Pam Bondi will probably be like, we're not going to go after them. They're doing the great work for America, and as such, we're not going to attack them for doing what some people disagree with or whatever. What we're doing is more important than the law, is what the conservative will say, who are part of this Trump, MAGA, whatever administration. And, you know, it is what it is, right? I'm sorry, that's Donald Trump's line.
It is what it is.
Anyway, so that's my thoughts on that. I'm probably not going to upload this last thing as a recording, simply because of the fact that it really didn't go. Usually I'm not disappointed when I read Alito's rulings, because Alito's rulings tend to be very disappointing. So I'm not disappointed at the fact, because I'm expecting it to be bad. And it's bad. In this particular case, it may very well have been bad, but since we didn't read the whole ruling, I'm not necessarily gonna be like, hey, you know, let's pick apart Alito, like we did when we went over twice Dobbs v. Jackson and Alito's other rulings that he's made that have been crap. Thank you very much, Robin, for being a wild Danimal for 9 months. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. You can become a Liberal Danimal as well for as little as $2 a month. You can also support the show with becoming a patron, patreon.com/liberaldan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way gets you there. One-time support, either Venmo, Liberal Dan on Venmo, or buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio. You can also go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me a Cider image or button, and that will help you help the show as a one-time thing. I probably will do more. That's awesome. Robin gifted a membership and it went right to Chad. That's hilarious. Anyway, but thank you, Robin, for being a Liberal Danimal and gifting a Liberal Danimal membership to somebody else. I do appreciate that muchly. So thank you so much. Thank you, Joan, for also joining us on stream. We're live every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Central, unless I'm out of town or some other thing. Like I know the last week of June, first week of July-ish, I will be out of town that week. I don't know if I might just do a live from my phone instead of bringing my whole laptop or whatever with me. We'll see. We'll see what happens because I'll be out of town with my fam. But yeah. But also there's a lot more content on YouTube as well. So liberaldanradio.com is the link to get to the YouTube channel. Lots of videos, shorter and longer form videos to comment on, share, help the algorithms out because Al Gore definitely needs more rhythm. Did you know it costs more to be a drug addict than it does to be a Danimal? Yes, and for just $2 a month, you can help Liberal Dan Radio afford things like all the medical bills and hospital bills that are still coming in to his house because, the hospitals are expensive as crap. Anyway, so if you're watching on Twitch, because we could go ahead and we'll play the Hypocrite of the Week again. We'll do that, and then we'll flip back over so Hypocrite of the Week will be the last thing you hear if you're on Twitch. Otherwise, we will be continuing on for a few more minutes over on, nope, that's not the one I wanted, over on YouTube for the final outro of the show. So thank you all very much for watching. Thank you for everybody who bought super chats, super stickers, super chats, super stickers, gifting memberships, subscriptions as well. Thank you all so much. And if nothing big happens before Monday, we'll see you Monday. Of course, if something big does happen, just make sure to get notifications on the channel, and we'll make sure to go live when it happens. So until then, thank you so much. Have a good one. Peace. This week's Hypocrite of the Week is Donald Trump, with Tulsi Gabbard being a close second. Trump mocked a reporter with a disability, but now he's mad that Congresswoman Crockett made a comment that could have insulted Governor Abbott's disability. The Donald and the Tulsi both made huge deals over the importance of our national security, but both are now liars since the Signal text chain was leaked and no heads are rolling. Do as I say, not as I do, makes you a hypocrite through and through. To see who next week's Hypocrite of the Week will be, tune in live Mondays and Wednesdays here at 8 p.m. Central on liberaldanradio.com or twitch.tv/liberaldanradio for more talk from the left. That's right.